Let there be light, and there was light. So this is going to be a short video, and just to first of all, I want to apologize for the abrupt ending that on my last video, which is headed okay, I'm not quite sure if I have named it. Okay, but really was going over the gods in Genesis of chapter 1, and I was reading through the scriptures really to highlight the attributes of Mother Eve, in particularly in terms of identifying Mother Eve in some of the verses where there is the inference of other gods as well. So I think that is very crucial for us to pay attention to. Like I was saying in the video, it's really about learning the language or who's talking, and the different accents, and the different accents in themselves have they carry certain messages, and it's just as if you were like I was saying, for instance, I may sound British, but someone who is really attentive to the different cultures or intercultures or in the British societies, or we could say may be able to identify my place of origin in the sense of where I grew up on the island of St. Lucia, because it is a cross accent or cross culture that I have, so I carry that with me. Now that in itself, the person who is really in tune with my tone and language, or the way I speak, or may be able to identify, make that differentiation in actual fact. On the other hand, if you were to take a large group of solutions and have them all sounding or listening to them, you may find that I sound very different to many other people, because we all have our own unique language or unique intonation. There is something unique about each and every one of us, and that comes in our voices as well. So in my family, we are told, I'm often told that how we sound alike, or my niece sounds like myself, or my brothers sound alike, and sometimes I find it difficult to differentiate one from the other. But if I'm in constant dialogue with them, or more regularly, I will be able to identify them even on the context of conversations that I hold with them. I'm able to do so. So these are things that are important for us to be able to attune ourselves to, which is what Mother Eve wants to inform us about, the importance of doing that. So one cannot impersonate another pretending to be the God who planted, whereas if you are asking about what it's like to plant, you want to cultivate your garden, and you are actually looking to the God who set instead of the God who planted, or the God who, of course, they're all interrelated, but that's what Mother Eve really is wanting to get us to be aware of those factors. Now, more so, that's another thing. The other message here is that all of us, myself included, yeah, I was being a little bit timid in saying us, including myself, but I'm going to say for all of us who are moving into the fifth dimension, fifth and eighth dimension, according to Mother Eve, we will be specializing as the gods of the 14 gods that we have spoken about, or whether we should say the 13 gods, the 13 as it were, like with Christ, even with Christ. So Christ and his 12 and the 12 disciples. So basically that was a I was going to say a figuration. I don't know if that sounds, yeah, but that was an example of the dimension or the makeup of the dimension that we are going to be moving into, which commences on the 15th of May. Now, of course, this has been, I say that as if it were the day or the date that it really happens. And for many people, which I don't want to doubt at all, because I realize that there is something it's not everything that I would have a clear understanding on or relate clearly upon the subject, every aspect of it. But there are many people who have moved into that dimension. And so because they have had it's like getting on a bus. So at the bus stop, not everyone gets on at the same time. So there's a queue of people and people are getting onto that bus or train. But however, it is still stationary in that sense while people are getting on board. So people are there on that bus, and that's what it's like being on the fifth dimension and the fifth and eighth dimension. So people are moving onto the bus, and we are told that people were moving from 2012. Now, a lot of people claim that it had begun from 2012. That would mean it would be 6 years ago. And there we have the number 6 as well. So the number 6 in itself tells us that that is so significant. And so we are moving into the setting stage. And so the setting stage. So even if it was 2012, like I said, we are ending this 7,000-year cycle. So again, an end has a process to it, because we need the function of time, the illusion of that timing, to be able to make sense of something. So it's not like one day everything, what we call one day. Hence there's a thing about what God calls one day is like 1,000 years or something to that effect in the scriptures. So it's important we put things in perspective in noting that the 15th of May, however, is the time that it sets. That there is the setting. That's where there's a movement happening here. So this is where we could say the doors get shut on the 15th of May. Now, that's maybe sounding a little bit harsh in a way that it's, but some people still jump on board. Or maybe there are other stops along the way, like a bus route or a train route. I am not sure to that effect, but there is a setting of that fifth and eighth dimension taking place on the 15th of May, 2018. All right. This is going to be, and the last thing I want to say in this video as well is that I think this is where we will be moving into on the next set of videos, is where Mother Eve is going to take us, the induction process of whether we are going to be the God of planting, the God of creating or creation, the God of movement, the God who of setting, the God who saw, the God who, all the different gods that are there. So we are talking about the 14 gods, and that's including Mother Eve, who said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So basically, the light was to shed on all the other gods who would be making that their move or their profession. And hence, again, this is why in Genesis, when we have the story of Adam and Eve, and there was a God who said, "Behold, the man have become like us." So that was a stage. That was a stage like we are moving into now, just like it was a stage of Noah and the ark, just like it was a stage of Christ, just like it was a stage of David and Goliath, let's put it, whatever stages, or Abraham and Sarah, all those which I have found a correlation of the number 8 in many of those stories. So anywhere there was that 8, like of course the name of Moses also equals 8, like it were of Abraham. And we have made the link to Sarah as well, where her first son was, so there were the two sons, and Sarah begat her own son, bore her own son. Okay, so basically we can see that there is an exciting time ahead of us, and it's important that we understand our role in the earth, in the earth plane, especially those of us who are moving into these realms, into this dimension. And of course, like the serpent had been cast to the ground, we ought to remember we have been cast to the ground, and because we have crawl on our bellies, for so to speak, we know what it's like to be grazed, we know, on the stomach, and really find healing and climb up the tree. Climbing up the tree is where the serpent, the goddess of wisdom, Mother Eve, is. And this is where we meet with Mother Eve right here, and that's where we understand and we say, aha, let there be light, and there was light. Thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this. I hope you have found this fun in some way, and it's an exciting time ahead. Let's stay ignited and spill over with love.